Of course I agree. I've got
you
Jewish
agree with
family
me? So why have I lied?
Yeah, no. Stop interrupting.
Let me respond.
All you want to do is
Let me
cancel their
respond.
speech. You're part of cancel culture and admit it right now.
Can I
You're
respond?
talking about protesting people.
Can I respond?
Americans.
Can I respond?
Americans.
By the way.
Hey, y'all. So I found this conversation interesting because just this last week over in the UK, one of the police chiefs has actually threatened to extradite Americans for being keyboard heroes for passing on fake news and incitement, right? And I'll play the video here in just a second. But, you know, if these people over there think that they can just deem somebody a terrorist and extradite them, or say that they stirred up racial hatred,
we will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up the hatred. You talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved. What are you considering when it comes to dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behaviour from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we'll come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the obs who are causing the problems for communities.
And a quick note before we get into the debate, what he said right there is crazy, because there's no way they're going to extradite Elon Musk. Well, maybe if Kamala Harris wins, then she will help them or allow them to come and try to extradite Elon Musk. But my guess is that his private security is going to be stronger than any force that they can bring from Europe over here to try to get him. I'm being facetious, but let's go ahead and check this video out. It's actually a very interesting debate, and it relates to free speech and things like that are going on over here in America. So let's check it out.
Kat, I want to start with you because I know you've got a slight time constraint. So I want to start with you and just talk about one aspect of this, which is the whole issue of free speech in this debate. And we're going to get into the two sides part of it in a moment with the other guests. But from a free speech perspective, what is your take on what we're seeing here?
So I've been very open about this issue. I think there's been not quite enough focus on the free speech issue. I think that, for example, you could look at Texas Governor Abbott, who in 2019 was saying there has to be free speech on campuses. There has to be the First Amendment on campuses. Then on March 27th, he signed something that limits speech on campus, including constitutionally protected speech, including criticism of Israel's government. I think that what the Constitution says is very, very clear, that even hate speech is free speech, right? So you can debate whether something is or is not hate speech. And the debate you just had with your last guest proves that there is some disagreement on that. And the main point is the government should not be the one deciding what is and is not. We have a spokesperson for the Indiana Police Department saying hate speech isn't free speech. Well, that just simply isn't true. And it's the whole idea of what it's always been, which is that you don't want the government to be in the position of deciding what speech is and is not allowed, because that is going to be dangerous for anyone, including Jewish students, right? I mean, there was no free speech, obviously, in Hitler's Germany, right? And saying that free speech, something is First Amendment protected free speech, is not that you don't have to say you agree with it. And you can totally bring up the fact that maybe it's been less consistent in terms of all of a sudden now a lot of these university presidents are super pro free speech when it comes to this, when they haven't been in the past. But to me, that's not going to cause me to be hypocritical on this issue. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I was in 2019, I was before 2019, and I still am today.
What if you are chanting intifada, given the history of intifadas between Israel and Palestine, twice in the last 30 years? We know what intifadas have been there. They've been violent uprisings with many people dying. And what if you chant from the river to the sea, which Jewish people believe absolutely
Piers.
means the eradication of Israel? I'm just asking
The
Kat,
First
because
Amendment.
I will come to everybody else, but Kat
Yeah,
has to go. So I want to just get this free speech part of the debate out of the way. Kat.
the First Amendment is actually clear on that, where you have to have a very, very, very specific exception where that would not be allowed. So, for example, a peaceful protest where people are marching and saying from the river to the sea is constitutionally protected speech. An incident where you were targeting a specific Jewish student and chanting that at that student where a protest had become violent, then that maybe would not be. But it's very, very narrow, and it's supposed to be very, very narrow, where there has to be, it has to be directed and likely to produce imminent action and also true threats. Those are the only exceptions, which are very, very narrow. And the law is clear on this.
But if you have people, and we've seen pictures of them inside and outside campus, who appear to be supporting Hamas rhetoric, who are wearing maybe insignia relating to Hamas or Hezbollah or whatever, if you're brazenly supporting organizations, groups of people that are deemed to be terrorists by large swathes of the world, does that cross the line?
This is utter nonsense, Piers. Can I just answer the question?
Okay, check. Yep.
You got genocide taking place. You got IDF terrorism taking place. You can't say a mumbling word about 12 universities that have been leveled to the ground. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of professors have been killed. Students have been killed. You're a journalist.
Yes.
Have you talked about the 112 journalists who have been killed, brother?
Yes, I have done.
You just said lies.
Well, hang on. Well, Cornell, I actually...
So
Cornell, hang on. Cornell.
They're unfairly.
Cornell.
And then you just start lying. You start lying, man. It's ridiculous.
Cornell,
man.
I'm not lying about anything.
No,
you are. I agree with Cornell West completely. You're totally, utterly lying through your framing.
And I find that hilarious what Cenk just said right there, because what has the left done? What has the mainstream media done to Donald Trump over the last 8-9 years? Every time they ask a question, every time they make a statement about him, it's 34-time felon Donald Trump, it's Project 2025 supporter Donald Trump, it's never ex-president or President Donald Trump, it's always Mr. Trump. They never frame Donald Trump in a positive light. It's always in a negative light. And you don't see Cenk out here complaining about that when it comes to anything the mainstream media says about anyone on the right, especially Donald Trump. So it's curious to me that he's aware of framing, and it just makes it more obvious in my mind that it's a tool that they use, that they use well, to be honest. Not to mention the fact that these guys are completely against toxic masculinity and accuse everybody on the right of being toxically masculine, but then whenever the woman was asked a question, wouldn't even let her answer it. I mean, hypocritical much?
The framing of this is a total complete lie.
Look, I can't hear you both speak at the same time. Cornell, just to be clear, I have posted... Sorry, hang on.
Please.
Hang on. I have posted about the journalists who've died in Gaza, right? I have posted about this. I have highlighted the deaths of those journalists, right?
Put it in the framework.
Well, I'm going to. I was going to come to you about the framework.
No, you're not.
All the vandalism about one hall, and you hardly can say a mumbling word about universities, libraries gone completely, schoolrooms gone completely. You see how truncated and narrow your framework is? You're just lying, man. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Okay. When you say lying, what you're trying to imply that I don't care about the other stuff you've just mentioned.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's not a lie.
That's definitely right.
Well, not have the same value as an Israeli life. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, let me bring in Cenk. Let me bring in Cenk here. Let me bring in Cenk. Okay, let me bring in Cenk. Just to be clear, I haven't lied about anything, right? I haven't talked about what's happened in Gaza yet because we haven't come to that part of the debate. But Cenk, I don't believe you've always seemed to me to be one of the more rational voices in this debate, prepared to accept what Hamas did was horrendous and so on. I don't believe that you think it's right that Jewish students should be intimidated and harassed on a campus.
You come right back to the thing again.
Can I just answer this for
We are
God's
debating
sake?
the protests, okay?
Come on, brother.
Cenk.
Come on, man.
I don't think it's right.
All right.
They should be
So
subjected to intimidation.
Okay, Piers.
Nobody
can I
thinks
finally
it's right.
answer?
Nobody thinks that's right. It's not
Cornell,
right.
let Cenk speak and I'll come back to you.
Girl has a hall named after her because she and 15,000 other children have been killed by the IDF terrorists that you don't even call terrorists, but you can call the students terrorists. That's not any double standards, man. That's just outright mendacity, hiding criminality on your show, and you're supposed to be uncentered, concerned about the truth.
Well, you just said I called them terrorists. I haven't called. I haven't called them terrorists. That, ironically, is a lie. Cenk, I want to bring you in. You're getting very angry about this too. Just to be clear, I am expressing an opinion that what has happened at Columbia has crossed a line. And that if I'm a Jewish student there, I think it's completely outrageous. I'm being intimidated and harassed for the actions of Israel's government thousands of miles away. That doesn't mean I don't have very strong views about what's happening in Gaza, because you know that I do. So where is my lie in all this?
Yeah, Piers, I've just listened to you for 20 minutes frame the issue in a purely 100% Israeli propaganda way. So if you say, hey, listen, Jewish students shouldn't be harassed or attacked, of course I agree. I've got
you
Jewish
agree with
family
me? So why have I lied?
Yeah, no. Stop interrupting. But what you don't talk about is you say from the river to the sea is an unacceptable change. Did you mention to the audience in these last 20 minutes that Benjamin Netanyahu actually said it recently? Not only that, he's actually doing it. He's in the middle of wiping out the Palestinians from the river to the sea. That is the grotesque violence. He has slaughtered 25,000 women and children. They were all innocent. So when Hamas kills 860 innocent Israeli civilians, I call them out and I say that is terrible. But when Israel slaughters 25,000 women and children, we're saying, oh, I don't like a pro-Palestinian chant. A chant? That's what we're concerned about. And now you turn to the violence that has happened on college campuses. There is one case of overwhelming violence, and that happened last night at UCLA. And it was pro-Israeli protesters that violently attacked the peace protesters that didn't do anything. They attacked an old lady and said, oh yeah, good luck trying to defend yourself, old lady. These are vicious, vigilante thugs. And they have done more violence than all of the peace protesters in the country combined. Where are the arrests? Where's the outrage? Where's the indignation? You pretend that you care about protecting students, but you only care about protecting one side, whereas the other side is assaulted.
No, I don't actually. No, because if
debased and humiliated.
Okay, let me respond.
And all you want to do is cancel their speech. You're part of cancel culture and admit it right now.
Can I
You're
respond?
talking about protesting people.
Can I respond?
Americans.
Can I respond?
Americans.
By the way,
okay, this is not the United States of Israel.
Fine.
America.
All right, you made your point.
To protest a foreign government.
Okay, let me respond. Just to be clear.
You've lost the right wing.
Just
you've
to
lost
be clear.
The left wing. You've lost America. America's not going to stand here and let Israel
You can keep
dictate
shouting or we can have a
who's allowed
debate.
to speak and who's going to be arrested.
All right, you can keep shouting.
I gave you 20 minutes to do propaganda,
Okay,
Piers. Go ahead now.
It's not propaganda. I have many views about all of this. We're talking specifically about the protests at Columbia, which I think have crossed a line. By the way, you talk about cancel culture. I'm entitled to my view without you and Dr. West screaming liar, genocide supporter, and all this other bullshit.
Okay, you condemn the UCLA pro-Israel thugs.
Let me make it clear.
You condemn them. I'm doing the same thing you are.
Wait a minute.
Do you condemn them?
Wait a minute.
Or are you pro-violence?
Can I answer the question? If this was Jewish students that were breaking into this building violently...
No, you don't have to go with a hypothetical.
No, sorry, I am going to go with a hypothetical because you're trying to make out that somehow I'm only doing this because I'm pro-Israel's government. I'm not pro-Israel's government. What I am pro is the safety of Jewish students being protected because they are not responsible for the actions of an Israel government thousands of miles away. They're entitled, having paid $400,000 for their education.
But you say no, you don't want to protect the peace protesters.
I don't think mob rules should be allowed to go on. So when you talk about this is a private university campus, they are entitled to not have their buildings desecrated in this manner, and they are entitled eventually to have the police remove them.
Be honest. When they were doing it in a public space, everybody in media, in American media, said, "How dare they do it in a public space? They do it in a private place." You go, "How dare they do it in a private place?"
No, you shouldn't be breaking into buildings full stop.
You know what? When Martin Luther King in Selma, Alabama, crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You know what they said? How dare they interrupt the bridge? How dare they go in a public place? How dare those protesters? Civil rights leaders should know their role, should know their place, boy. That's what people like everyone in American media is saying right now to the people in favor of not slaughtering any more Palestinians.
Yeah, I think
you guys sound exactly like Bull Connor.
Okay, Kat, I know you have to go. I just want to bring you back in just briefly. Look, this is an incredibly, as you can tell, this is a very incendiary debate and passions run very high about this. As anything you've just been listening to, given you any more clarity about how we resolve this situation? Because presumably these protests are not going to go away. They may get bigger in number. They may affect more universities. This is a bad situation getting progressively quickly worse. What do we do about this?
Right. Again, going back to what I was saying before, I think that the law on these things is clear. I think that we want to be careful to not give up any of our rights as Americans in response to things that we see. There was also a bipartisan legislation proposed about having anti-Semitism monitors on campuses. I mean, what could go wrong there, right? And I've been open as a First Amendment absolutist, and I've had people send me videos of things like smash windows. Well, is this free speech, Kat? Obviously not, and I'm not saying that it is. I think that the robust debate surrounding this proves all the more reason why there are strong disagreements on what counts as what and what means this or what means that we should not have the government be in the position to decide ever what you can and cannot say, because any of these rules that some people are pushing for that would, some of the slogans that the Palestinian protesters are chanting, to silence any of that could then, based on what else someone else thinks, could be used to, say, prevent an IDF soldier from coming to campus to speak. So I think that there are two separate things that we need to keep: how you feel about the speech personally, how you feel about the issue personally, and then how you feel about the government involvement in it. Those are two completely separate things, and it's not the same to be pro-First Amendment and anti-Semitic.
You make some great points. Kat, we've got to let you go. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
She makes some really good points there, because when it comes to the anti-Semitic speech laws, who are the ones that get to make the decision about, oh, what you just said was anti-Semitic? Because if anything is, because if the last 4 years, the last 8 years has taught us anything, the conspiracy theorists, the free thinkers that questioned what we were told by the mainstream media, who were then canceled off of social media and, X and Facebook, and had accounts taken away and just full-on banned, that they were right about a lot of things. And if a government can just deem what you said bad speak and label you a terrorist without giving you a trial, you know what I mean? Because in America, we're innocent until proven guilty. But if they can just use these anti-Semitic speech laws to deem you a threat or whatever like that, then you're really taking away Americans' freedoms in America. And I can't support that. It's another type of slippery slope. And if we've learned anything from the last slippery slope that started in the 80s or 90s that has now led us to drag time, story time or whatever, or gender affirming care where kids in school are having their gender hidden from their parents by the teachers and things like that, we shouldn't allow the slippery slope to start. Okay, because what kind of free speech are they going to infringe on next? And as we saw in the beginning, what the UK is trying to do by just saying, hey, if you're a keyboard warrior, you can be held responsible and accountable for the things that you say. And we've even seen some arrests and things like that. I have to push back, and I have to say we don't want any of that nonsense. So if you agree with me and you like your freedom and you don't want the government to come in and tell you what you can and can't say, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.